What will Cooper Flagg's addition to the Mavericks mean for their rotation? Plus, ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg joins us on the show today. All that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on this terrific Thursday. What will Cooper Flagg's addition to the Dallas Mavericks mean for their rotation? Plus, we'll be joined by ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg, talking all things Cooper Flagg at 12:15. And a little bit later on in our show, we'll dial up the Stein line with our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, as we are here just a little over a month away from the NBA draft on June 25th, where the Mavericks are presumptively going to take Cooper Flagg with the number 1 overall pick. Tim Cato, what's going on this Thursday, man? How you feeling?
Feeling great. A nice little intimate two-man duo. Kind of feels like the Kevin Gray podcast. Kind of feels like a little throwback.
A little throwback podcast.
I'm gonna be honest, Kevin, though. I gotta confess something. Your studio was not nearly as nice as this one.
You're correct.
Yeah.
You are definitely correct.
Yeah.
I tried to do what I could, but it doesn't compare anything to the DLLS Sports Studios. In fact, congratulations to us here at DLLS Sports. We crossed the 25,000 subscriber count last night. In fact, already passed 25,000, already up to 25,100 plus subscribers. So shout out to our Stars crew last night, as the Stars used not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 goals in the third period last night to take out the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1, 6-3. Our DLLS Stars crew all over it last night. They were on air live when we crossed the 25,000 subscriber count. So congratulations to us here at DLLS Sports. Thank you so much for supporting us here as we crossed that 25,000 subscriber mark. We had been on for like a lot of the milestones, like the 5K, the 10K. We had done a lot. So it was time for us to pass it to somebody else to do the.
Well, we did the hard work to get us here.
That's true.
And
we did the heavy
once
lifting.
we got the momentum rolling,
That's right.
We were happy to let everybody else kind of keep it going.
That's true.
But couldn't have happened without us.
And it couldn't happen without you as well.
Okay, that's actually the most important part.
That's right, exactly. And a little bit later on today at 4 p.m., we've got the premiere episode of our DLLS Wings podcast as well. So if you love everything about the Dallas Wings Super Show today, we've got our guy Mark Stein going to be on the show. I'll make an appearance on the show, Bobby Curley. We got all kinds of folks going to be hopping on our DLLS Wings. That's right. We can't forget about Dorothy Gentry. She's going to be on the podcast as well. So we got a lot to get to today. Again, 4 o'clock today, our premiere episode of the DLLS Wings podcast. Speaking of some basketball, some terrific basketball last night as we jump in today. The Eastern Conference Finals got started last night in New York City. And my gosh, what is it? A barn burner last night in overtime as the Indiana Pacers, yes, Rick Carlisle, used a 20-6 run in the final 2 minutes and 40 seconds to overcome what was a 14-point deficit. Tyrese Halliburton's incredible buzzer beater sends it to overtime. Pacers find a way to get it done in OT, 138-135, stunning the crowd of 19,000 plus inside of Madison Square Garden last night. And Aaron Nesmith went absolutely berserk in the fourth quarter. 20 points, 6 threes, Tim Cato, and what was a hell of a basketball game inside Madison Square Garden last night.
Man, I think out of all the crazy games we have seen this NBA postseason, that might be the craziest one of them all. And 2 other contenders are also Pacer games where they made just incredible comebacks and very late in the fourth quarter. The Knicks, of course, had a couple huge second half comebacks. We've seen some wild games, but I don't know how it gets wilder, and we'll see how the rest of this Pacers run keeps on going. But I don't know how it gets wilder than the way the Pacers did it, to go, step back 3-pointer into a rafters grazing bounce, shooter's bounce that falls in, that is led into with the choke celebration,
Choke
directed at Reggie Miller.
That's right.
And then the drama of the camera shot within seconds, even moments after celebrating, after showing the celebrations of the Pacers sprinting onto the court. You see that there's a little foot on. There was so much there. There was so much there. That insane game.
It was insane. In fact, it was the 4th comeback this postseason of at least 15 points or more for the Pacers to be able to get it done. Here's some interesting numbers coming out of last night. So NBA teams going into last night were 0-970 when being down by 14 or more points in the final 2 minutes and 50 seconds of regulation in the playoffs over the last 27 postseasons. They are now 1-970 after what the Pacers did to the Knicks last night. And Tim mentioned it. The Knicks had 2 comebacks against the Boston Celtics in the semis where they were down by 20 in each of the first 2 games in the third quarter, came back and won those 2 games on the road. Tyrese Halliburton, who continues to prove the overrated doubters wrong, continues to come up in the clutch, and he did so once again as this Pacers team just find the cardiac Pacers at this particular point, because they just continue to find ways to come back. And last night was about as epic of a comeback as you can get with all the given what this series is presenting between the Pacers and the Knicks.
Yeah, 214 cited. He says Tyrese went full WWE.
He did.
Is much more your expertise, but I do feel, shout out 214. I feel like I read his comments a lot. Very similar minds. I think that's a great way to describe it. Halliburton is doing stuff that feels scripted. Feels scripted in just the sheer absurdity of what's happening. And it's just some hidden trait or knack he has as a player to channel the absurdity of this sport in a way that is just peak. I mean, it does feel like he's a heel sometimes, a
Yes.
lot of times. And do you want like actual analysis? To the extent that I think if I'm the Knicks, and the Indiana didn't have any solutions, and I'm not sure they have a lot more solutions for Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
They put their best guys on them. Indiana is not a elite defense.
No.
They're not going to be able to pull off, well, we don't have the perfect man defender, but we're just going to scheme your defenders, scheme your best players out of this. I think in that context, New York should feel okay. The circumstances of how they lost was that Aaron Nesmith scored the most points, I think, since 1998 in a 5-minute stretch in NBA playoff history. So in the modern era, he scored the most points, 20 points in a 5-minute stretch. It's the first time an NBA player has ever hit three three-pointers in the final minute of the fourth quarter. It's the first time an NBA player. I think it's the most threes in a fourth quarter by an NBA player in the postseason.
Yep.
It's his most threes in an NBA game. That was the most absurd postseason shooting stretch we have ever seen. I'm not being hyperbolic. That is
Literally
the craziest stretch of NBA shooting we have ever seen. It came from Aaron Nesmith. I think if you look at all those facts, you look at all those stats, you look at all about how the game played out, how ridiculous, how historic of a shooting stretch that Indiana had to go on to win this game. If you're New York, like, if you just play that game back again, of course it's going to be a win.
Yeah.
But if you're New York, also, that's the most heartbreaking way to lose.
Ooh, boy.
And I just, like, with all that said, mentally, this could be a tough thing to come back from. So I think the circumstances of the game are still on New York's side, which is why they have the big lead for them to blow, for Indiana to come back from. But I don't know, man. You can't lose games like that. Not in the postseason. Not against a Carlisle coach team.
No.
Not in that way. So it's very much heart versus head in terms of what you take away from that game. And whichever one New York can channel more, I think kind of dictates the series, because I did see them with more advantages, and their not just more advantages, but their advantages over Indiana, I thought were louder and more visible advantages Indiana has over New York.
Yeah, because Jalen Brunson was great. Karl Anthony Towns was great last night for the New York Knicks in that game. But look, regardless, I want 7 of these games. If we're going to get this kind of drama in the first game alone of this conference finals in the East side of things, I need 6 more of these because this is going to be a hell of a battle between 2 very evenly matched teams. Obviously, the through lines with the Mavericks, of course, Rick Carlisle having won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks back in 2011, back in the conference finals for the second time in as many years with the Indiana Pacers. Done a terrific job with this team, a team that plays with a lot of pace, a lot of heart, and no quit. And you saw that evidence in what they were able to do in the final 2 minutes and 40 seconds. In fact, since 1996-97, teams that have trailed by 7+ points in the final 50 seconds of the fourth quarter overtime are 4 and 1,702. The Pacers have 3 of those 4 wins all this postseason. That speaks to some of the absurdity in terms of what the Pacers have been doing. You saw the crazy comebacks that they had against the Cleveland Cavaliers to help get them to this point as well. We've seen a lot of terrific comebacks so far in this postseason, and the Pacers gave us the latest one with their 138-135 win last night over New York. They'll get back on the floor tomorrow after tonight, where we see game 2 of the Western Conference Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Tim, the Thunder will be celebrating tonight, not just because they got the win in game 1, but they now have the reigning NBA MVP as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander received 71 first-place votes to become the newest MVP of the NBA. And I think in a lot of ways, Tim, well-deserved for the incredible offensive season and leading the Thunder to what was 68 wins this year in the NBA.
Yeah, you could give it to him. You could give it to Jokic. It's no surprise that Shai won, and it's absolutely deserving. He is that good of a player. He is, just one of the most difficult players in the NBA to guard. And so, I know that I know there was all the amusing discourse about his whistle and all this stuff, but incredible player. Absolutely the engine, the powerhouse of Oklahoma City and their success. And it only stands out more as pretty much all postseason we've seen struggles from his 2 co-stars, the 2 guys that are supposed to be his running mates on offense. And J-Dub has had it at times, but not consistently. Chet is just not a polished offensive player at this point, certainly not in postseason settings. And yet, it's the defense as the star, but you still have to have an offensive star. Of course you do. And Shai is that star. Shai has been that every night. He was that all regular season, and awesome player. Yeah,
the top 3 in the NBA MVP voting this year: Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning the NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic finishing second, Giannis finishing third in the NBA's MVP voting. So for yet another year, and I believe it's the 4th or at least the 4th or 5th year in a row that we've had an international player win the NBA's MVP. Of course, with Shai winning this year, Nikola Jokic winning 3 MVPs as well, Giannis winning an MVP. The international player has been getting it done over the last several years now when it comes to the NBA MVP winners in the NBA.
It's 7 straight.
7 straight years. So Nikola's 3, Shai's 1, Giannis
2. 2 for Giannis.
2 for Giannis. That's right. So 2 for Giannis.
Yeah, Shai, Jokic, Embiid, Jokic, Giannis. Then it's the old guard. So Harden, Westbrook, Curry, Durant.
Was James. Harden the last?
Harden was the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. There we go. And thank you, Ray Jack Wednesday. That's the 7th. So there you go. So Giannis, Jokic, and SGA and Joel Embiid mixed in there. Okay, so real quick. That year when Embiid won it felt like he came out of nowhere in the last, maybe 2 months of the year to the narrative kind of switched quite a bit for Embiid to be able to win that MVP, because I thought Jokic was going to win yet another MVP that year as well. But there you go. So that's what it is when it comes to the NBA MVP. So again, game number 2 tonight, Oklahoma City hosting Minnesota as Oklahoma City looks to take a 2-0 lead. Do you remember what happened a year ago today, Tim Cato?
A year ago today, was it the Luka shot over Gobert?
No, that's in 2 days.
Oh, well, so it's probably the game 1 win.
Game 1 win, that's right. They won game 1. Luka and Kyrie combined for 63. Kyrie had a spectacular first half at 24 points in that first half of game 1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they were able to handle their business and get that win on the road to steal game 1. And, of course, yes, a couple of days later, we know what happened with that shot. But yeah, just a little bit of history looking back on for Tanner during the course of the show here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back here on our show, we welcome in ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg, talking all things Cooper Flagg and what his game could look like in the NBA. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day of their lives. They live it, they breathe it, they dream about it. It's just incredible how much flooring there is to know. And nobody knows it better than Empire Today. We've all been to the big box stores, and you can wander endless aisles. You're somehow hauling all the material home if you're looking for an installer. These people don't live and breathe flooring. They walk on floors. They know about floors. They can look at a floor and be like, that's a floor. They can't tell. They don't know anything else about it. Not Empire Today. Empire Today, they know everything, and they will be with you every step of the way. Schedule a free no-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Let me talk to all my ball knowers out there. When it comes to Sleeper, the best fantasy league platform out there, allows you to put your ball knowledge to the test by allowing you to pick your favorite or least favorite players to have more or less than their projected stats each week. If you took Tyler Sagan last night to have more than a goal, you were a winner when it came to Sleeper. In fact, he had not one, but 2 goals to help the Stars get the Game 1 win over the Edmonton Oilers. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries, so you can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. So if you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. It doesn't have to be your first contest as well. Remember, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, so make sure you check out Sleeper today. Let's welcome in our guest here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. He is a 2-time ACC Coach of the Year, just finished up his 11th season on ESPN's College Game Day. And he, of course, is joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg. Seth, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
What's up, guys? You guys still living the dream, man. Lottery pick, #1 pick. Life is good. Mavs are back. Forget about Luka and move forward.
Yeah, we have a chance to move forward with presumptive #1 overall pick Cooper Flagg, someone that you obviously know a lot about, having not only coached the ACC, but obviously watching a lot of Duke basketball. Of course, Cooper Flagg leading them to the Final Four this past year. Before we get into anything specific when it comes to Cooper Flagg, just your thoughts on his overall game and what he was able to do in his freshman year at Duke that will allow him to transition to the game in the NBA going forward.
Well, he started as a 17-year-old in college basketball. He finished as an 18-year-old. He's got positional size, ridiculous length, which enables him to have defensive range. He's got a ridiculous basketball IQ and feel. He makes hard plays look easy. You saw his improvement in his ability to shoot the three. He makes the game easier for everyone else. And I think that's the most important thing. And he impacts the game every time down the floor, offensively, defensively, with the ball, without the ball, as a passer, as a scorer. The guy makes hard plays look easy.
Seth, I can be a bit of a numbers nerd, and there are numbers that say Cooper is the best freshman, had the best freshman season since I think like 2000. There's only 2 players who have had a better freshman season. Those 2 players being Zion Williamson and Anthony Davis. But numbers, of course, every time, like you pair them with the eye test. So I am curious, when you look, with your college basketball expertise, when you look at past collegiate prospects, where would you put Cooper Flagg in there? And is it reasonable to say that he is on par with an Anthony Davis, a Zion Williamson? Just where does he fit into that mix of just the ceiling of a collegiate prospect?
It's the one and dones. In terms of as a NBA prospect, his game translates much better than Zion Williamson, because Zion Williamson is as explosive as he is. Like, he's going to be available. The dude loves to ball. He lives for the game. He's lost in the game. His commitment, his conditioning, his commitment to team, his commitment to winning. Anthony Davis's numbers in college actually weren't great. I mean, if you think about championship game, in the second half, he told John Calipari, he said, "Hey, don't worry about me getting mine. I'm going to defend and rebound. Let the other guys get theirs." So Cooper's an interesting guy because if he needs to score, he'll score it. If he needs to play make, he'll play make. He takes what the defense gives him and makes the game easier for other people. Like to me, in your situation where you guys are in Dallas, he couldn't have found a better fit because I said this the other day at the combine. Cooper Flagg had more pressure on him coming in as a 17-year-old freshman at Duke than he will have as the overall number one pick in the NBA draft going to Dallas. You say, wait a second, how's that possible? Well, if you think about it, he's going to Dallas. Number one, they've got a point guard once he gets healthy in Kyrie, and they got a big time shot maker in Clay. They've got Derek Lively who can protect the front of the room, can continue to get better. Gafford obviously complements him at a very high level. They've got every single, and they got AD. I mean, they got every single position filled. What do they need? They need a three-man that can defend multiple positions, also have the versatility to initiate offense, make enough shots, be a ball mover, the ball doesn't get stuck, have defensive versatility. And because Kyrie's out, depending on what you guys do at the point guard position, he can also be a secondary ball handler. Like Duke a lot of times ran their offense through Cooper Flagg. So, like, for me, fit's the most important thing. Now, do the Mavs have to do other things? Sure, they do. They've got to sign a backup point guard. They got to figure out what they're going to do with PJ. They got to figure out, get Kyrie's deal done. But in terms of the pressure, he's going to be surrounded by three All Stars, and yet here he is, 6'8", with a 7 foot plus wingspan, with a ridiculous skill set, shot making, floor game, an active and alert defender. Everything is fit, everything's opportunity. He's going to a team that, when healthy, could make a deep run in the NBA playoffs. So that's a pretty good situation for the overall number one to go in, because most times the overall number one goes into a bad situation. So I think it's a perfect fit for him.
So when you look at Cooper Flagg's game and the skill set that he brings, what player comes to mind for you that you've coached or watched or seen play that reminds you most of what Cooper Flagg could bring in terms of his skill set to the league?
Yeah, Scottie Pippen. I think he's got a little Scottie Pippen in his game. I think he's got a little Grant Hill in his game. And I think he's got a little Jason Tatum in his game. But to me, those three guys are three pretty good guys to be compared to. Some people would say, I think Ace Bailey's Tracy McGrady, but I really believe that Cooper is versatility. I mean, you don't see a guy that versatile. I mean, like he made some passes, and they played with great spacing, and they ran offense through him a lot. They didn't have, like, say, a pure point guard. Sion James played that position some. Obviously, Tyrese Proctor played the position some. But, if he got defensive rebound, he initiated the fast break. They were in a half court set. It might be a two-man, small ball screen with Con Knippel. But, Pippen, because of his versatility. And I think also, I think Cooper's going to have an impact. You got to remember, he's 18 years old. What were you guys doing at 18?
Not being 6'8" and 220, getting ready to go to the league. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, but I mean, just in terms of his emotional, his emotional makeup is incredible.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to.
Is really special.
Yeah, I wanted to ask actually exactly about that, and that's what I hear from people who have known about Cooper Flagg for years now. Back when he was 14 or 15, and back then he was known as, oh my God, this is a defensive prospect. Unlike we've seen. But then what really changed with him is just the work, and you talked about his commitment and dedication to getting better, and he completely transformed his jump shot. That was a huge thing. Maybe still something that needs work, but just leaps and bounds. Where he was a few years ago to where he is now is all the work he put in. You mentioned how he's a really competent, solid passer who makes the sharp reads. That's something that has come along. I think from my understanding, it's something that he's developed at. So I guess the question is just like from when you first started hearing about him, started seeing him, watching him, and to where he is now, even in this short time, what sort of development leaps has he made to get to where he is now? And, he's only 18, so there's more room to go.
I think it started when he played that USA basketball thing in Vegas and the success that he had. All of a sudden, he's playing with the best players in the world, and he's impacting the scrimmage. So I think it started that gave him confidence to build on. I think John did a really good job. Shire did a really good job with him, empowering him and giving him the ball and building a roster around him. And I remember speaking to John that spring, when they lost, they lost some guys to the portal. And, I asked him, like, they lost Roche to, uh, to Baylor, and they lost, Blakes to Stanford, and they lost some other guys. And he said, no, we're building this team around his skill set, and we're going to put the ball in his hands, and we're going to have the versatility that very few people have. So, I think that it just, repetition, and anything you do, you guys, I don't know if this is a new podcast or an old podcast. The more you do, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you are. Uh, you know, anything you do in life, you get reps, you get better if you really work at it and learn from your mistakes. So, uh, his feel, his size, his length, his measurables, his competitive spirit are all there. And his skill set. And he played for like a great high school coach. Kevin Boyle, just terrific high school coach. And think about the guys that played in that program. They're just a bunch of lottery picks, is basically what it is. So he played with other good players. So that like that year was a plus year in terms of practice and getting better. And he wanted that. He left, a state championship high school team and his brother to go and do that. So uh, to me, he's got a maturity beyond his years. He loves the game. He's lost in the game. He gets lost in winning, gets lost in his teammates, he gets lost in competing. Though, and he's got a maturity. He's a genuinely, I've been to probably half a dozen practices. Uh, he fits in. Yet he's the baddest dude on the court.
What's the number one aspect of his game that's most NBA ready now that he could come into the league and make an immediate impact with?
But just his feel. I mean, look, he's got size and his measurables are ridiculous. 6'8.5", 7'1" or 7'2" wingspan. But I mean, like to me, it's not one. I got to answer asked that question on NBA Today. It's not one thing. That's the thing. People want to find one thing and put them in a small box. It's not one thing. It's the totality. It's that he's good at so many things, that he impacts the game so many ways, that his feel is so good, uh, that he basically he delivers what needs to be done in that moment in time. You cannot put his skill set in a small box. You can't like say, oh, what's the best? Can he shoot it? Yeah, he can shoot it. Can he pass it? Yeah, he can pass it. Can he initiate offense? Sure, he can. Does he rebound the ball? Yeah, he does. Does he play out of ball screens? Getting better at it. Probably that's the area he probably needs to improve in the most. Uh, is he competitive on defensive? Yeah. Does he have defensive range? Yes. And what I mean by defensive range is he can be off the ball in the stance, see plays, and because of his wingspan, get deflections. So, like, it's hard to put him in a small box because that's not who he is. Who he is a guy that has got a unique, versatile skill set.
Yeah, and the way he just always challenged himself, you referenced this, but that just stands out so much to me, to be at Nokomis, and then he's like, no, Mount Verde is more challenging, to challenge himself on the EYBL circuit, to challenge himself at Duke, to challenge himself, with the Team USA invite, and then all of a sudden he's playing against Anthony Davis, and literally the best. And people come out of that and say, yeah, Cooper Flagg, he was the best player on the USA reserve team. This is not, there are a lot of ways that Cooper Flagg and Luka Doncic are very different. But funny enough, and Luka's always on the mind, especially of late in Dallas, the way that he was always seeking out, reclassifying, playing a year younger, always seeking out tougher competition. I think that works hand in hand. It shows like the level of dedication, what aspirations he has off the court. And just, it kind of reflects on everything that my perception is he's about as a player.
Yeah, like he probably made in real NIL, not pay for play, but real NIL. He probably made $4, $5, $4, $6, $7 million. Didn't change it. He had his own shoot sneaker commercial. Didn't change him. I think he has a Gatorade deal. Didn't change him. Like, he's just one of the guys. I mean, it's just the way it is. And he's a guy that will impact winning. And everyone says it. Well, how do you impact winning? By making the right play. How do you impact winning? By being a good teammate. How do you impact winning? By being a two-way player. How do you impact winning? By being easy to play with other people. How do you impact winning? Making the game easier for other people. How do you impact winning? By complimenting the players on your team and fill a void for your team, which they obviously have. So it's a great fit for Dallas. It's a great fit for Cooper. I mean, it really is a win-win. Now the biggest thing is the Mavs got to get healthy. I mean, they got to get healthy. I mean, AD's got to stay healthy. Kyrie's got to get healthy. They got to get some guys signed. If you can get Lively back and Gafford comes back and PJ comes back and you have Cooper and Kyrie and you find another guard that can initiate offense and defend, and Cooper's good, which he will be. You know, you've got a chance to do some interesting things in Dallas.
He spent 22 years as a head coach, two-time ACC Coach of the Year, and currently ESPN college basketball analyst. You can catch him every Saturday during the college basketball season with ESPN's College Game Day. You can find him on X at Seth on Hoops. He is ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg. Seth, thank you so much for the time. Sincerely appreciate it, and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Enjoy the summer. Maybe you guys make it to Summer League, but I think the Mavs are in for a good run right now.
Appreciate it.
We will see you out there.
We will see you there.
Okay,
appreciate
guys.
it.
All right.
There he goes, ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg. Good enough to join us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, let's stick on the Cooper Flagg conversation. What will his addition to this Mavericks team mean for the rotation players currently here? We'll discuss that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
What's up, sports fans? Also, Stars fans. You know what? I was actually at a Stars bar last night.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, the little dive bar that is known for playing Stars. They had Stars on. I made sure that one game was on the NBA game. But actually just wasn't drinking that last night. But if I had been, you know what I'd been drinking? Bud Light.
Okay.
Always Bud Light. All around me, there's Bud Lights all over the place. Everybody, when you think of enjoying a sports game and having an adult beverage, what's a better choice than Bud Light? Enjoying the game should be easy. So don't overthink it. What to wear, just toss on your lucky jersey. Don't know what to serve with your friends? Easy. Just pick up some pizza from your go-to place and grab some Bud Light to stock your fridge. See, it's that easy, just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
And you know where you can put that Bud Light?
I do not. I would love to know.
Put it right here in your Rugged Road cooler.
I usually drink them fast enough that that's not an issue.
That's not an issue.
Just in case.
Well, if you got some extra ones, you can place them in your
Exactly.
Rugged Road cooler. They're dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the very best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions, whether you're on land or water. Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure, crafted to handle the toughest environments out there. Coolers are built to last, ensuring they keep up with any adventure. Coolers are guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, and oftentimes much longer than that. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, whether you're tubing, camping, fishing, whatever the case may be. They've got everything that you need for all of your outdoor sports enthusiasts. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. They're reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Make sure you head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off today. Again, appreciate ESPN college basketball analyst Seth Greenberg for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs
We're having
podcast.
a lot of head coaches on the show lately.
A lot of head coaches on the show.
Former head coaches.
That's right.
I think if you're a coach, you're always a coach, right?
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, for sure. And of course, earlier this week, we had head coach of your Dallas Mavericks, Jason Kidd, on the program. A little bit later on in the show, got another guest that's going to be coming up on tomorrow's show that I'm going to let you know who's going to be coming on for tomorrow. But let's continue the Cooper Flagg discussion as, of course, the presumptive number 1 overall pick, the NBA draft on June 25th, as the Dallas Mavericks have that number 1 overall pick. But there could be some things different for this Mavericks roster, Tim Cato, when it comes to not only the starters on this team, but some of the other guys that could be affected by Cooper Flagg's addition to this team?
Yeah, so this isn't specifically addressed, but like in the comments on the show, we've talked a lot. Like there are people who believe just run everything back, and oh my God, the depth is going to be crazy. Everything's going to fit together. And again, I'm not out here saying like, you know, all these players gotta go because they just can't play together. The problem is there's too many players. So let's play a little exercise. And the point of this is to eventually get to the end of the bench players, because we keep talking about guys we know are going to be in the rotation. So Dallas is going to get a guard. We know that, right? Like there is going to be a guard on this roster. So this isn't even talking about Kyrie coming back. The rotation on opening day, I think, are we going to... I think we hope Brandon Williams is the backup point guard, right?
Agreed.
Let's start with point guard. You got 48 minutes there. I think it's safe to say that there's going to be a guard who is not on the roster, and Brandon Williams are going to take up 48 minutes there, right?
The question would be who you got to sacrifice potentially to get that guard going forward.
Yes. and some, you know, but the idea is like there's ideas out there about maybe Chris Paul comes in on the minimum and everybody stays the same. So there are ideas about that.
Sure.
Okay, go to center, Lively and Gafford. That's 48 more minutes. Najee and Clay are rotation players. And I am being generous in pulling their minutes back and saying they're both going to average 24 minutes. For Clay, for both players, that would be a reduction of what they averaged last season. But last season had a billion injuries. Certainly they played at times more than you would think. But let's say 24 minutes apiece.
And
that's 48 minutes.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean Clay is going to finish games either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think 48, 24 apiece. So you've got two positions left. You got 96 minutes, and you've got Cooper again. Generously, I'm going to say he plays 32 minutes.
Sure.
I'm going to generously say PJ plays 32 minutes. I think those are good numbers for both those guys. AD last season for the Lakers averaged 34.
Okay.
So how many minutes does that leave you? Would you like to know?
I would like to know, actually.
-2. You have -2 minutes left in your rotation.
Okay.
You have to go find 2 minutes. You have to go reduce 2 minutes for all these players that are 100% going to be in the rotation.
Okay.
Obviously, you go into the season, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be players that miss time. That is always going to happen. You want depth. You have to have depth. You want to go into the season, if you can, with a 10-man rotation. I believe we listed 9 players, and there's going to be times where you're not playing all this. This also doesn't include the fact that Kyrie is going to come back. Does he just take the minutes of the guard? If it is a minimum player who's just filling in, I'm not even talking about, how good the team would be in that context. I'm just saying, like, literally, if Kyrie comes back, maybe he pushes out the guard. You've still got Caleb Martin, Max Christie under contract. You've got Jaden Hardy under contract. You've got Dante Exum as a player you kept around. You have his bird rights. And you have, as things stand, even with Kyrie's injury, no minutes. No minutes in a 9-man rotation for them. Again, of course, your rotation is always going to be bigger than that. There's always going to be injuries. There's always going to be situations. Out of that group, though, we'll say the guys who are actually under contract. Caleb Martin was starting less than 2 years ago in the finals.
Sure.
If he's on your roster, he's a rotation player, or he wants out. He says, "Get me out of here." Unless he just like literally cannot perform. But you have to go into the season saying he's a veteran player who you traded for. You chose to go get.
He's going to be a part of this rotation.
He has to be.
Yes.
He has to be. Or you have to go trade him. Or you have to play him, and then he's so bad that he just gets benched. And probably then you still are trying to trade him because he's not helping you. Max Christie is a player that I think everybody wants to play. A lot of people are asking, this is the 3-and-D2, this is the guy who's going to guard point guards. Not under the rotation as it stands right now. Now, there is a possibility that Brandon Williams is not up to the task. That, the 18 minutes that we're kind of carving out for him and the 30 minutes to the guard that's not on the roster yet, there's a possibility of 18 minutes springing right there. Now, if you remove, if Daniel Gafford or PJ Washington get traded, I penciled them in for 24 and 32. We're at -2. So we're going with a healthy rotation, but one of those guys gets moved. That's how you get the guard that's not on the roster right now. That's how you get him in here.
Okay.
If it's PJ, you have 30 minutes to allocate to Caleb Martin, Max Christie, and probably that's it. 15 a pop.
Wow.
That's pretty much your solution. That is pretty much all you have available to you. So I guess what I'm asking, and where I wanted to lay all this out, and I'm actually going to write about this a bit tomorrow.
Yeah.
For tomorrow. Which of the end of the bench players do you most want to see in the rotation, or do you, or guys who they have bird rights to that they could bring back? And you would love to see brought back onto the team.
I mean, and one name we didn't even mention, Spencer Dinwiddie, who's obviously a free agent for this team this upcoming summer, and led the team in terms of minutes and assists throughout the course of the year. And when you look at the way that this team wants to play, led by defense, obviously playing through their bigs, are going to need some playmaking, creation, and ball handling. A guy like Dante Exum could find himself back on this roster. Obviously dealt with the wrist injury and some missed significant portions of last season anyway. Obviously, Dinwiddie could be a candidate as well.
Dante was probably their best option guarding ones.
Mm-hmm.
Not amazing at it, not like all defense level, but they just they still don't have a lot of that. And that's what the point guard not on the roster, that's who you hope he has a skill set that it gives him that ability. But the more important skill set for that player is going to be shot creation. Shot creation. Yes,
you're going to do
that's the most important skill set. If he's somebody who can guard on the other end as well, that's a luxury. That's not necessarily a luxury that you can guarantee you're going to have.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with some of the comment in terms of Dinwiddie may have played himself out of Dallas just because of how well he wound up playing throughout the majority of the year. Yes, there were spurts where he didn't necessarily play great, but for the most part, he did everything and more given the minimum contract that he was on and performed well above the pay scale that he had coming into the year. So he may find himself getting paid by someone somewhere else. So that leaves opportunities for Brandon Williams, Dante Exum potentially coming back. But at the same time, what does that mean for Caleb Martin, who is going to be a part of the rotation? If they're going to be led by defense, he's going to be part of that bench unit that's going to be guarding, opponent's second best players in terms of their bench units coming off the bench as well. So, yeah, there's going to be – it's a log jam. Basically, I'm saying all that to say there's a log jam in terms of the minutes that are available and the players that are good enough to be in this rotation that you're going to have to figure out, okay, which player or two would you have to potentially move on to create room for a need that you have in terms of that ball handling and playmaking that you so desperately need. And, oh, by the way, you still need a point of attack defender as well on this team. So
Caleb Martin actually can do that as well. Yeah. I undersold Caleb. Caleb is probably the best at that. He has a long precedent of being a much better offensive player than he was last season in both stops. He was not great in Philly, and he was worse in Dallas. But there's some reason to believe some of that was a shoulder injury that just really affected his jumper and really impacted. He was scared to, maybe scared is too strong, but he was very, very hesitant to shoot. Not once have we even mentioned Omax, who is not in the rotation and very likely not on the team next season. Team option for Dallas. Very rare to see a first-round pick, their team option not get accepted going into as early as their third season, but it is, I think, plausible.
And Jaden Hardy as well.
And we can say this because Bobby's not on the show today. Jaden Hardy is another name not even mentioned.
That's right, yeah.
If you bring Jaden Hardy back and he... he's still young. Maybe he figures this few stuff out. Maybe he's better than Brandon Williams next season. I haven't seen a lot of evidence to suggest that would be the case. But if you bring him back and there's a backup point guard and him and Brandon Williams can duke it out, when you have, because Brandon Williams is not proven, as excited as we are, as much as we liked him at the end of the season, there's no guarantee that he might be that good during stretches and then go in through inconsistent stretches. So, if Hardy's on the roster, probably won't be, but there's at least room for him to fight for minutes. There really isn't for Spencer Dinwiddie, who, doesn't really seem likely he's back. Doesn't seem likely Exum is back at this point as useful as potentially he could be. Kessler Edwards maybe. Kai Jones probably not.
The two-way guys, yeah.
Dwight Powell's going to be back, almost certainly. Yeah, he's got a team option. Or sorry, he's got a player option, which means he's probably going to pick it up. He's also not paid the minimum, which means it's a little tougher to just trade him out because at $4 million, if he was minimum, you can match it just to kind of the minimum that the NBA. I'm forgetting the words to explain this. Just trust me. It's a little bit easier to trade him if he's at that minimum, which he's not. He makes $4 million. It's still possible you can move on from him, but look, he's going to pick up his team option, and he's been a great locker room figure for these guys. So he's going to be back. But you're working with all of this, even with the knowledge that eventually Kyrie's going to be back and muddy it up even a little bit more. You know, at the end of the season, when Kyrie's back, if your roster is, you know, even if PJ or Gafford turns into the guard who's taking up a lot of your minutes, there's probably not room for Max Christie in the rotation by the end of the year unless he goes and steals it. But then that comes at the expense of Clay, and you know, it's already going to be tricky to get Clay to come off the bench if that's what you deem necessary. So just there's not room. There's not room. Somebody has to go.
Yeah.
And even if somebody goes, I don't think it's guaranteed that Max Christie is, you know, anything more than like a 15-minute a pop type player.
Yeah, there's a log jam in terms of the roster. I know a lot of folks who have said, look, we don't want to trade any of our guys. We don't want to trade PJ. We don't want to trade Gafford. We don't want to trade certain guys. But given what this roster is looking like, the amount of big men that you have, but also running up against first and second aprons with the addition of Cooper Flagg in terms of his salary, which I believe would be $13-14 million in his rookie year, you've got to be able to create some space in terms of your salary cap to make some things work, but also finding the requisite players to stem the tide until Kyrie Irving comes back. So Andrew Baker, the capologist for this team, has got a lot of work to do to figure some things out. And yeah, there's a couple of things in terms of AD's contract that kicks in this year. That 3-year, $175 million contract extension kicks in for him this upcoming year. Kyrie Irving, if he picks up his option, going to be owed $44 million. And I would imagine he'll be looking for a raise once he opts out of that deal, if he in fact does that. So they've got some things they've got to work out in terms of some financial gymnastics in terms of this roster as well. That will be a theme throughout the rest of the summer as they move forward to the June 25th NBA draft and welcoming in a Cooper Flagg. Let's take our final break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we'll be joined by our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, or maybe not. But if we're
not quite yet, he's coming.
Maybe,
oh, no.
Now he was texting me separately saying, I texted y'all, you probably just didn't see it, but that's okay.
Oh, I saw his first one. He's stuck in traffic. So.
Yeah, so you know what? He fears he's not going to make
best
it.
Of us.
We'll talk about some fun stuff next on the podcast.
Well, you just keep talking.
Like I am right now. We want you to become a diehard member here at ALLDLLS.com for $7 a month. We want you to become part of our DLLS sports family. If you didn't hear earlier, we just passed the 25,000 subscriber count here at DLLS Sports. And as Tim is pointing to that QR code to become a diehard member, we want you to do that. That's right. Oh, you got a really good Wingspan. Look at you. We want you to do that right now. You got access to tremendous benefits, including terrific work from our guy Tim Cato covering the Dallas Mavericks, Jeff Wilson, who's upstairs right now watching the Rangers take on the New York Yankees. Also, Sam Nestler, Sean Shapiro covering your Dallas Stars, and you can't forget about Clarence Hill Jr. and Joe Hoyt covering your Dallas Cowboys. You get 20% off events as well. Tremendous access to our merchandise and our member-only Discord. And speaking of the Stars, we got some new merch for the Dallas Stars. Yes, right. Jake Ottinger, who's been standing on his head this entire postseason for the Stars, only gave up a goal last night in their game one. Or no, it was 3 goals. It was 3. They won 6-3. You know what I mean? They won. But Jake Ottinger's been great throughout the postseason. We've got a brand new T-shirt right now. Look at that pretty shirt. The otter in the middle with the helmet and the sticks. It looks great. So shout out to our DLLS Jake Ottinger new shirt that you can get right now at alldlls.com. Shop allcitynetwork.com as well to get all of our tremendous stuff there. So again, for $7 a month, become a diehard member. You get your physical diehard card as well. Show it off to let us know that you're part of our family here at DLLS Sports. And we want you to be part of what is the fastest growing, the best DFW sports talk is right here at DLLS Sports. We've got all the bases covered. And later on today, our DLLS Wings show premiering at 4 p.m. today. So make sure if you're a Wings fan, you are tuned in to what is going to be the best Wings podcast in the game with DLLS Wings. Again, become a diehard member. Visit alldlls.com to become part of our family today. Let's finish up here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We'll get.
Did you have any follow up, or did you have any reaction to that we need to get to?
As far as
just the rotation and the.
I mean, yeah, more so than anything, like I said, it's just a logjam. You got really good players here, and you know, in a lot of ways, it's a blessing. I'm not gonna say it's a curse, but it's a blessing. It's a good problem to have if you're the Mavericks, knowing that you got the number 1 overall pick, and you're bringing in Cooper Flagg, and what that means for the upside of your roster, even with some of the injuries that they're going to be dealing with. But yeah, they've got some serious financial implications that they've got to think about. And we didn't even mention the fact that PJ Washington's eligible for a 4-year, near $90 million contract extension in August. Daniel Gafford is up for a contract extension this summer as well, if he is remaining part of this team. So they've got some real financials that they've got to figure out, but also solving the problems of the lack of playmaking and shot creation that they don't have.
Colton Dodd in the comments says Cole Anthony is the best cheap quality point guard, and it does. So what that brings to mind to me is that Dallas could look a lot like Orlando, and I fear that's not great.
That's not great
in the West. Orlando had an injury season from hell on par with Dallas. They missed a lot of their stars.
The Wagner twins missed a lot of time. Banchero missed a lot of time. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But where it really got bad is when Jalen Suggs went out. That's when it really went south and the offense just completely dissipated. And that's the comparable scenario for Kyrie, right? So what Orlando had to do is they had to run their offense through a lot of scoring options, scoring hubs, but not offensive like floor generals, not offensive creators, not offenses to themselves. Franz Wagner and Paolo, Franz especially, are plus passers, but they are not, and they draw double teams, just like Anthony Davis does, just like Cooper Flagg will at times. But they are not guys who create an offense all to themselves. They are still players who needed creating creators, a thing that creators are famous for doing. They needed creative guards, and Cole Anthony was an example of a guard who was not good enough. He could not do enough in that role.
It fell out of the rotation in Orlando.
Who else did they run out? Who's the old washed veteran they were starting going into the playoffs?
KCP?
No, not KCP. They had one of the. I'll look it up in a sec. They just needed more names. Anthony Black is someone that we've seen in the comments constantly. Anthony Black is just not nearly at the level that he is constantly creating. I really like Anthony Black as a player. I think he's a really good connective player, a player who, spreads the ball around, a plus passer. Being a plus passer does not mean you create shots for your teammates. Creating advantages, creating 2-on-1s, that's what creates. And specifically doing it not when teams send doubles at you. I've talked about this a lot, but not when teams send doubles at you, but when you force the opponents to rotate. There's a difference between getting double teamed and forcing rotation. There's a huge difference in that. And not every single team needs it. And if you are a god level creator like Jokic, then that's fine. You can take the double teams, you can force them, you can still find the passing windows anyway. But Anthony Davis isn't going to be doing that. He is going to be doubling. Yeah. He is going to be generating Corey Joseph. Thank you.
Corey Joseph. Yeah.
I was trying to. I had Garrett Temple in my head, and I'm like, I think he was on one of those Spurs teams when Corey Joseph was. So if Dallas went and their replacement was Cole Anthony, I think they're going to be a team that looks a lot like Orlando down the stretch. And Orlando didn't set themselves up to have a great postseason. Now, Orlando still, they finished 6th, right? They just snuck out of the play-in tournament. They snuck out of the play-in tournament with a lot fewer wins than Dallas is going to need to do the same thing. Now, obviously, a big difference is that, fingers crossed, the luck of the injury gods should not be as against Dallas as it was against Orlando. It shouldn't be as against Dallas the second year in a row. But again, there's already a not a Cole Anthony injury. There's already a Jalen Suggs, a player more impactful than Jalen Suggs. There's a half season of him missing, and Kyrie Irving. The truly the guy who stirs the drink for this Dallas team, and that's why I feel a Cole Anthony type, a Corey Joseph type, certainly a Corey Joseph type, a Lonzo Ball type. These guys do not fix the issues. They are good players who I'd love playing next to Kyrie. In most instances, I don't know how good Cole Anthony really is. They can score. They're going to get you some buckets. Jaden Hardy can get you some buckets on some nights. It's not enough to make this offense function consistently at a rate that's going to get you enough wins. Now, your defense may be so good that it still powers you. I don't think Dallas is going to be at the same level as Orlando, even without Kyrie, especially if they get a comp. Like, they're not going to be the worst in the NBA. They have players like Najee. Certainly Cooper really changes the dimensions of this to me, because he is a player with, instantly is going to have tertiary creation and an ability to even level up beyond that. Brandon Williams is, I think, what he was down the stretch was a better player than I think Cole Anthony. Stuff I'm not super high on him as a player, but again, I'm using Cole Anthony as a name, as an example of what I just don't think is going to be good enough, because I think if you really look up and down the roster, compare it to the Orlando Magic, there is a lot of similarities in the way that they tried to play offense, the way that Dallas would have to try to play offense next season. And Dallas only has one Anthony Davis. Now you have Cooper Flagg. Maybe Cooper Flagg is comparable to Franz, and Anthony Davis is comparable to Paolo. I think that's actually not crazy. They're not one-to-one comparisons, but those are kind of comparable.
Sure.
And you've got a few more creative types coming off the bench in terms of Najee and Brandon than I think what Orlando had down the stretch. But I don't know, man. I see a lot of similarities in how those two rosters are made up, and it's completely different once Kyrie gets back. But you don't have the luxury of waiting 50 games and just saying it's going to work out to put yourself in a situation in the Western Conference where for sure you're set up best for postseason success next year.
And of course, Orlando
in April.
And Orlando was the 7th seed. They lost to Boston in the first round. They lost it in 5 games in that particular series as a 7th seed. But I mean, one of the things about Orlando was, they defended like crazy, one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. But when they needed offense, they couldn't necessarily find it in the important stretches in the postseason when they needed to. And obviously, they lost in 5 games to the Boston Celtics. But that's going to be one of the interesting things about this team is, in terms of the Mavericks I'm talking about, is not only how they get creative in terms of utilizing Cooper Flagg, but obviously as his team tries to get as healthy as quickly as they can, the biggest conversations that will start to take place, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, with Anthony Davis's 3-year, $175 million extension kicking in. And, at the end of that contract, he's going to be owed $63 million by the time you get to the end of that particular deal. So your opportunity and the urgency to win and win now gets that much more heightened, given the fact that Anthony Davis, by the time you get to the end of next season, will be 33 years old, and at the end of that contract will be 35. And what will his body be like by the time you get to that portion or to the end of that contract? Not to mention Kyrie Irving getting older, Klay Thompson getting older as well. You've got to try to do a lot of winning and do a lot of it quickly, because otherwise it gets very, very expensive if you're going to be keeping Kyrie Irving on his new contract, whatever the case that may be, Anthony Davis with his deal, and then Klay Thompson as he's just simply getting older. And then also, by the way, you've got this 18-year-old kid that you're fitting in moving forward toward your future as well. So it's going to be a difficult threading of the needle for this team, given their roster construction, the age of the roster, and how the finances are going to be looking for this team coming down the road fairly quickly here.
Yeah, and once again, having too many players for your rotation is a good thing. And it can be good. Again, I don't think you can go into the season telling Caleb Martin, who started on a finals team 2 years ago, I don't think you can go into an NBA season and tell him when somebody gets hurt, that's your spot in the rotation. I don't think that is a way that you can manage the roster. You can tell that to Max Christie, though. And again, it's not literally told like that. It's like, sure, hey, you're the guy on the edge of the rotation, and you can fight your way into it. And when there's injuries, we're going to rely on you. This is your role this season. Just understand that sometimes when we're at full strength, you are not indicatively. You're not. I don't know what word I was going for. You're not guaranteed a roster spot. You're not guaranteed, a 15-minute stretch, maybe a 7-minute stretch here and there. These are good problems to have. It also means Dallas can trade, has the ability to move on from a player that last season, going into the summer, right before the lottery, that was like a crucial part of their team, was somebody that they needed to survive. Mm-hmm. And now it's a luxury of saying, this guy has value. This guy has teams around the league that like him. And maybe we can work out a deal that fills out the roster better, that makes the rotation look make a bit more sense. These are good problems to have. but they're problems, or they're at least challenges.
Issues for sure.
Issues, yeah, maybe issues. So.
Before we get out of here, got to let you know we'll be back, of course, tomorrow at 12 p.m. We will be joined tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Speaking of front office things, ESPN's Bobby Marks, front office insider for the Worldwide Leader. He's going to be joining us at 12:30
Best Bobby
p.m.
we've ever had on the show.
Wow, shots at Bobby Carella. Wow.
Oh, you guys said that about Legler yesterday.
That is true. That is very true. So join us tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. ESPN's Bobby Marks going to be joining us here on the program. If you got front office questions or issues or concerns, we're going to ask those to Bobby Marks tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Appreciate ESPN Seth Greenberg for joining us on the show today as well. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. He's off for the rest of the week, so we'll talk to him next week. So happy vacation to our guy Tanner. Bobby Carella will be back with us tomorrow, as well as also our National NBA insider Mark Stein. That's our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. I'm your host Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here at 12 p.m. on DLLS Sports. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.
See y'all.
We all silly like the mayor.